Well, good morning, and welcome back to our pilgrimage together through the summer. Today is the third day here at the Institute for Priestly Formation, as well as Wednesday of the 6th week of Easter. And as I mentioned yesterday, the men are really, I think, settling into the summer, and I think having a really blessed transition. As today is the third full day, we continue their course on prayer, an introduction to the basics of how to pray and its connecting to the virtuous life. So the men in the morning will be in class, and then in the evening they will have their second conference with Father Tim Gallagher as he walks them through an introduction to the rules for the discernment of spirits. As the men are in class today, what we will do is we will continue almost painting for them the geography of the soul. And today we're going to focus in on how we can experience both consolation and desolation, both on the second level of the heart, which is the more psychological or human level, and the third level of the heart, which directly impacts our relationship with God and our capacity to do His will. So yesterday, I had introduced you to the three hearts and what that meant. And today, what we'll do with the men is we'll help them understand that we can struggle on a human level, and we can have consolation on a human level. We can also struggle in our relationship with God, and we can have consolation in our relationship with God. Let me give you several examples of what we'll present to men, and then we'll invite you in what you can do in your spiritual exercise today. Let's take a person who is grieving the loss of a loved one, perhaps a person who is going through the grief of losing a loved one to cancer. On the second level of the heart, in the human area of the heart, they're in grief, and that's a tough struggle. So you might say that they are in emotional desolation. But at the same time, let's just presume, for the sake of the example, that they have a strong sense that God is with them, and God's carrying them through their pain and grief. So when it comes to their experience of God, they know God's there, and they're being supported and strengthened by God. So there is emotional struggle on the second level of the heart, but there is God's presence on the third level of the heart, and His presence is a little consoling, for it gives them strength. So that's two different levels of the heart where you can have desolation and consolation. Let me give you another example, and let's just flip it. Let's say a person is experiencing lots of pleasure in life on the second level of the heart, the human level. Financial wealth, they are experiencing professional success. They are experiencing, on the second level of the heart, just a lot of joy and fun on vacation. That's the second level of the heart. There can be consolation there. But on the third level of the heart, again, for the sake of example, let's say the same person doesn't know God, feels like God is nowhere in their life, has given up on God, and they are simply pursuing a life of pleasure on a more superficial or second level of the heart. So they can be consoled on the human level, but there's desolation on the God level. So what we're going to do today in class is we're going to help them understand that in their own life as seminarians, as well as in their future priestly life, that there are different interior movements, there are different experiences in the soul, and that just because I'm experiencing consolation doesn't mean that comes from God. It could come from just the world. And just because I'm experiencing desolation doesn't mean that comes from God. That could come from the world. And understanding the depth within the geography of the soul can help us respond accordingly. And so if you were at IPF today, you'd hear that. And if you were at IPF, one of the things that might stir within you is a desire to live at that third level. What might stir within you is a reminder that there's more to life than just pursuing pleasure in an earthly sense. There's more to life than just going through the routine of it all. And I think it's good to be reminded of that. For those of us who are seasoned veterans in the prayer life, it's just important for us to check ourselves. Are we living with our eyes focused on the right things? You know, Stephen Covey once said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Most important thing in life is to figure out what's the most important thing, and then make sure that that stays the most important thing. The main thing in our life is not what the American culture is going to present to us. The main thing in life is going to be what God presents to us. What God is offering us is eternal life. And what God is offering us here on earth is a presence of his presence that will come to fulfillment in heaven, but is available to us in some way here on earth. And to the degree that we dispose ourselves to being open to God and receiving from him, our lives here on earth will actually be filled with a greater sense of fulfillment than they would if we would not live our lives for God. That what the world can offer us in our pursuit of pleasure on the second level of the heart is never going to fulfill us in the long run than what God can give us, you might say, on the third level of the heart. So are we living deep? Are we living deeper than just the world of pleasure? Are we living deeper than just what the world can give us? Are we living deep in a relationship with God in the midst of all things? Now, second level of the heart stuff, there's nothing evil in and of itself on any of that. That's all gifts from God. But we can never idolize, we can never make idols of the world of pleasure, and we can never mistake what they can offer us for what really God can offer us through them or independent of them. So the invitation is for us to live deep today with our eyes focused and to ask ourselves, is the main thing still the main thing in our life? Are we living our eyes focused on heaven now? If you were here for the summer, if you were with me at IPF, today I might actually have you pray with Mark chapter 10, 17 to 22. That passage is on the blog, Mark 10, 17 to 22. And I would encourage you, if you were with me this summer, to put yourself in the position of the rich young man. Jesus is looking at you. And I love the passage from Mark. In the Gospel of Mark, it has Jesus looking at him and loving him. Jesus is looking at you, and he's loving you as he looks at you, and asks you today, are you looking at him? Are you living with your eyes focused on what's the most important thing, or a world deeper than just a world of pleasure? Welcome to the summer. Welcome to the journey. Let's keep our eyes on the Lord, and let's live deep in a world in communion with him. God bless you.